Earth had grown quiet in the last 50 years. There were no more rocket launches, no moon landings, and no space stations floating above the planet. People had once dreamed of the stars, but those dreams ended after the failure of the Mars colony. Thousands had died in that mission, and the world had turned its back on the sky. Now cities focused on nature, technology helped rebuild forests, and energy came from clean sources. The people of Earth were proud of their peaceful world, but they had forgotten what once made their hearts race: exploration. In Seattle, near the water, stood an old building called the Seattle Flight Academy. Inside, classrooms were filled with students learning about Earth's atmosphere, old flight paths, and how to pilot planes. But one woman in the building still remembered more than that. Her name was Lauren Pike, and she had once touched the edge of space. Lauren had been a test pilot in her younger years. She flew high-altitude jets, and once flew a craft just outside Earth's atmosphere. She had been fast, brave, and smart, but a crash during a military test had changed everything. Her legs were damaged beyond repair, and she was forced to leave the sky behind. Now she rolled through the academy halls in a motorized chair. Her students respected her, but they didn't know the fire she still carried inside. Each night she stared at the stars, wondering what was still out there. Her apartment was small but filled with old photos, pilot badges, and model ships. She kept a map of the stars above her bed, drawn by hand, with red dots showing the places humans once reached. Each night she told herself stories about what could have been if Mars hadn't failed. She sometimes spoke with her old friend Clay Norris, who had once been a commander in Earth's Space Navy. Now he worked as an advisor for the United Earth government, mostly pushing papers and making speeches no one listened to. They joked about the past, but Lauren could see something still lived in Clay's eyes too. They had both loved the stars and both had lost them. One day, Lauren sat in her office, grading flight simulator reports. A soft knock came at the door, and Brooke Lawson, one of her brightest students, stepped inside. "Ma'am, did humans really walk on Europa once?" she asked, holding a dusty textbook. Lauren smiled. "Yes, we did," she said, looking out the window toward the sky. "Why did we stop?" Brooke asked, her eyes full of wonder. Lauren paused, then said, "Because we were afraid." Brooke didn't understand, and Lauren knew she couldn't explain it all in a few words. How do you tell someone about the fear of failure so deep that it stops all progress? How do you explain the silence that follows great tragedy? Later that night, Lauren sat alone, sipping tea, watching old footage from her flight days. Her screen showed a small jet breaking through clouds, spinning toward the sky. She remembered the feeling of G-forces pushing against her chest, the joy of flying above everything. It had been the closest thing to freedom she ever knew. Outside, the world was calm. No air raid sirens, no warnings, no danger. But it was too calm, like the world had wrapped itself in a blanket and chosen to forget what lay beyond the sky. Children played with drones in the streets. People walked through quiet parks, and every city shined with green lights and tall glass towers. There was nothing to fear, but also nothing to chase. Lauren looked at her map again, fingers tracing the path between Earth and Saturn. "We were so close," she whispered. She didn't know it yet, but things were about to change. Somewhere above the clouds, something stirred, and soon the silence would be broken. A storm was coming, not one made of wind or rain, but one of stars, light and shadow. And when it arrived, the people of Earth would need someone to guide them, someone who remembered the sky. Lauren Pike didn't believe she would fly again, but the sky wasn't done with her yet. It began without warning. At first, people thought it was just an unusual light in the sky. Over the Pacific Ocean, far from land, the sky shimmered. It was not lightning, and it was not a sunset. The color was too strange, glowing in soft waves of blue and white. Satellites noticed the change first. Images from orbit showed a long, thin crack in the sky, like a scar stretching across the clouds. It pulsed once, then opened wider. High above the sea, a shape fell through the light. It moved too fast to track, diving into the ocean with a great burst of steam. Fishermen near the area felt the shock in their boats. A strong wave followed, but there was no explosion, no smoke, no fire, only a strange silence. For 7 minutes, every satellite and space station lost contact. The whole planet went dark in orbit. Then, just as suddenly, the systems came back online. But something was different. In government buildings and command centers, alarms rang, emergency lights flashed in red, and secure phones began to ring. The United Earth government held an emergency meeting. There was no clear answer to what had happened, but it was not natural. In Seattle, Lauren Pike was called back to duty. She hadn't heard Clay Norris's voice in years, but that morning, he appeared on her home screen. He looked tired and older, but his voice was firm. "Lauren, we need you," he said. She blinked, confused. "I'm retired, Clay," she replied. "Not anymore," he said. "We activated Protocol Greylight. Only a few people still know how to lead a space crew. You're one of them." Lauren stared at the screen for a long moment, then nodded slowly. She had waited years for the sky to need her again. Now it had. Within hours, she was flown to a hidden base deep in Alaska. There, under thick snow and ice, lay the last remains of Earth's space fleet. The base had been quiet for decades, but engineers rushed around now, bringing old systems back to life. Clay met her at the hangar doors. He handed her a data pad and pointed toward a large dark ship resting in the middle of the facility. "That's the Eagle's Honor," he said. "She's yours now." Lauren looked at the ship and felt a strange mix of fear and joy. It was a long-range battlecruiser, built for deep space patrol. Once it had patrolled the moons of Jupiter. Now it would fly again. Inside, the ship was quiet. Dust covered the control panels, but everything still worked. Crews were already loading supplies and checking weapons. The engines needed fuel, but the heart of the ship was ready. Her new crew began to arrive. Ensign Brooke Lawson was the first to greet her, eyes wide with excitement. She was young, smart, and eager to prove herself. Next came Commander Greg Tate, tall and serious, with gray in his beard and eyes that had seen too much war. He gave a small nod, saying only "Captain." Last was Specialist Jonah Cruz, quiet and thoughtful. He wore a device on his temple, an AI symbiosis implant that let him connect to computers with his thoughts. He was the only one who could understand alien signals. "What do we know about the object?" Lauren asked during their first meeting. Clay stood beside a large screen showing the ocean near the crash site. "We sent drones, but they stopped transmitting near the wreckage," he said. "There's movement under the water, and some kind of signal." Jonah listened to the signal through his implant. His eyes closed as the sounds filled his mind. "It's not random," he said. "It's a message, or maybe a warning." Lauren stood in front of her crew, feeling the weight of command again. She took a deep breath and said, "Prepare the ship. We go to sea at dawn." They flew low over the ocean in silence, the ship skimming just above the waves. As they neared the crash site, the skies turned darker, and clouds formed in strange shapes. In the distance, lightning flashed, but there was no thunder. Drones flew ahead, scanning the area. The wreckage came into view, half buried under water, glowing faintly with blue light. Lauren felt her hands tighten on the controls. "Life signs?" she asked. "Something's alive in there," Brooke said, staring at her screen. The signal from the wreckage grew louder. Jonah pressed his hand to his implant. "It's repeating now," he said, "a pulse every 10 seconds. Lauren looked out through the ship's front window. The sea was calm again, but too calm, like it was waiting. "We need to go deeper," she said. "Launch the sub-drones." Tiny machines dropped into the water, diving toward the strange ship. As they approached, something moved. The alien vessel shifted, as if waking up. The drones sent back one final image before going dark. It showed something large, metallic and alive, rising slowly from the ocean floor. Lauren stepped back from the screen. She looked at her crew and said, "Whatever that thing is, it came through the sky for a reason. We need to find out why." The Eagle's Honor moved across the ocean with quiet power. The engines hummed low as the ship cut through the waves. Lauren stood on the bridge, looking at the map glowing on the main screen. The crash site was behind them now, but they were not leaving it behind for good. They were heading to orbit, to find out what else was out there. Her crew worked quickly and carefully. Brooke checked the navigation system again and again. "We're clear to begin ascent," she said. Lauren gave a small nod. "Begin climb," she said. The ship's engines shifted, and the nose of the Eagle's Honor tilted upward. Outside, the sky darkened as they climbed higher. The clouds gave way to open space, and soon Earth looked like a blue marble below them. For some of the crew, this was their first time in orbit. Even Greg, the quiet veteran, seemed to pause for a moment to look. "It never gets old," he said quietly. In the command center, Jonah Cruz sat in his chair, focused on the signal from the alien ship. He still heard the pulse in his mind, regular and clear. "It's guiding us," he said softly. Lauren turned to him. "Where to?" Jonah pointed to a spot behind the moon. "There's something hidden in the shadow," he said. Brooke checked her sensors. "He's right, Captain. There's a large mass behind the moon. No official record of it." Lauren looked at the crew. "Let's go see what's hiding in the dark." The ship moved smoothly across space, following the coordinates Jonah had received. As they neared the moon, the stars began to disappear. It was like something large was blocking the sky. Then it appeared, a massive ring-shaped structure, silent and still, floating behind the moon like a forgotten monument. It was dark gray and covered in symbols. Parts of it looked broken, but it was clearly not natural. "Is it a ship?" Brooke asked. "No," Jonah said, his voice low. "It's a gate." Lauren stared at it. It reminded her of old stories, myths from Earth about stargates and wormholes, but this was real. The ship circled the ring slowly, scanning it with long-range sensors. Greg stood at his station, arms crossed. "There are weapon marks here," he said.
Something attacked this thing a long time ago. Jonah's implant glowed softly as he listened again. The signal is coming from the gate. It activated when the alien ship came through. That crash wasn't an accident. It opened this. Lauren nodded. So we have a door to somewhere, and something came through it. More could follow. Greg said. We need to understand how it works, Brooke said. If it's active, we need to know what it connects to. Jonah looked up slowly. I think I can interface with it, he said. Lauren raised her eyebrows. You sure? No, he said. But I have to try. Lauren gave the order, and the ship moved closer to the gate. A small pod was launched, carrying Jonah toward the structure. Inside the pod, he connected his implant to the alien tech through a wireless bridge. He closed his eyes, and for a moment, everything was silent. Then the lights on the gate flickered. Lines of energy began to glow across its surface. It's responding, Brooke said, amazed. Jonah, Lauren called through the comm. His voice came back slow and calm. It's not just a gate, it's a record too. I can see pieces of a map, images of stars, planets and battles. This gate is part of something much bigger. Suddenly, the ship shook. We have movement, Greg shouted. On the screen, several small objects appeared near the gate. They were shaped like darts, moving fast. Are they weapons? Lauren asked. Brooke looked worried. They're scanning us, but they haven't fired. Jonah was still connected. They're guardians, he said. Machines left behind to protect the gate. Then let's not make them angry, Lauren said. The machines floated around the ship for a while, then slowly returned to their places near the gate. The lights on the gate dimmed, but did not turn off. Jonah returned to the ship, tired but unharmed. This gate connects to other systems, he said. It hasn't been used in a very long time, until now. Lauren sat back in her chair, deep in thought. Something had opened the gate, and something had come through. But why now? What had changed? She turned to Greg. Get us ready for anything. We may not be alone much longer. Far in the distance, beyond the stars, something stirred again. The gate had sent a signal across the galaxy, and someone had heard it. The Eagle's Honor stayed close to the ancient gate. Its lights glowed softly in the darkness of space. Lauren stood on the bridge, eyes locked on the monitor. She waited for something to happen, but the gate remained still. Jonah was resting in the medical bay. After his connection to the gate, the doctors said he was fine, just tired. His implant had glowed for hours after the link, but now it was quiet. Brooke sat at the main console, checking data from the gate. The signal is still active, she said, but weaker now, like it's fading. Greg walked over with a frown. That might mean whatever answered it is already on the way. Lauren nodded. Then we prepare. How long until the long-range scans are complete? 10 minutes, Brooke said. As they waited, the ship floated silently near the moon's shadow. Stars sparkled all around, but everything felt still, too still. Then the lights dimmed for a second. Power drop, Greg said. Just for a second. Brooke looked up quickly. I see something. A small object coming toward us from the gate. Very slow. Lauren leaned closer to the screen. Show me. A sphere, about the size of a car, floated gently toward the ship. It was metallic and smooth, with blue lights circling around it like rings. It's not a weapon, Greg said. It's scanning us. Jonah entered the bridge slowly, rubbing his head. That's a messenger, he said softly. The gate is trying to talk. Lauren looked at him. You sure you're okay? I'll be fine, he said, sitting down. He closed his eyes and reached out with his implant. The sphere stopped outside the ship and began to pulse in rhythm. Jonah breathed slowly, focusing on the signal. It's showing images, he said, not words. A planet covered in glass, a war in the sky, and something falling through a black hole. Can you understand what it wants? Lauren asked. Jonah nodded slowly. It wants us to follow. The gate is not just a door, it's a path to something else. This is a map. Lauren looked at Greg. What do we risk if we follow it? We could be walking into a trap, he said. Or we could be the first to see what lies beyond. Lauren turned to the crew. Prepare for a jump. We follow the signal. Brooke input the coordinates from the sphere. The gate came alive again, light running through its structure. The inside of the ring turned white, spinning slowly like a whirlpool. All systems are green, Brooke said. We are ready. Lauren took a deep breath. Take us in. The Eagle's Honor entered the gate slowly. The ship shook as it passed through, light covering every surface. For a moment, everything was soundless, like falling through a dream. Then stars returned, but they were not Earth stars. The ship had entered another system. Far ahead, a broken world floated in silence. Its surface was shattered, with cities half buried in dust and ice. We made it, Brooke whispered. Where are we? Greg asked. I don't know, Jonah said, but this place is part of the message. As they approached the planet, new signals reached them, not like the one from the gate. These were sharp, fast, and angry. Multiple objects approaching, Brooke said. They're fast. On the screen, 3 ships appeared, moving in tight formation. They looked grown, not built, with curves instead of lines and glowing red cores. They don't match anything in our database, Greg said. The ships circled the Eagle's Honor like sharks. They're scanning us, Brooke said. Again, Jonah pressed his fingers to his temple. They're not machines. They're alive and artificial, like both at once. They call themselves Marith. What do they want? Lauren asked. Jonah listened a moment longer. They are looking for something they lost. They think we have it. The Marith ship stopped circling and hovered in front of the Eagle's Honor. A new signal was sent, stronger than before. They want to board us, Brooke said. Lauren shook her head. No, tell them we are peaceful, but we do not allow entry. Jonah sent the message back through his implant. The Marith responded by moving closer. Shields up, Greg said. One of the Marith ships pulsed red, and a beam of light fired at the Eagle's Honor. The shields held, but the impact shook the entire ship. Return fire, Lauren said. Greg launched 2 pulse torpedoes, striking the Marith ship and sending it backward. The other 2 circled faster, firing beams of red light. Brooke worked fast, rerouting power to weapons. They're fast, but not well armored, she said. The battle lasted less than 5 minutes. The Eagle's Honor was damaged but still flying. 2 Marith ships were destroyed, and 1 escaped into deep space. What now? Greg asked. Lauren looked at the shattered planet ahead. We find what they were looking for, because whatever it is, Earth might have it too. The Eagle's Honor floated above the broken planet. The battle with the Marith ships had left marks on the hull, but the ship was still strong. Inside, the crew moved quickly, checking systems and fixing damage. Lauren stood on the bridge, staring at the dark world below. Begin scans of the surface, she said. Brooke nodded and started the scan. Greg stood by the weapon station, watching for more enemies. Jonah sat quietly, holding his head. They're still out there, he said, and they know we're here. Who are they really? Lauren asked. Jonah looked up, his voice calm but serious. They call themselves Marith. They are half living, half machine. They travel across the stars searching for seed bearers. What does that mean? Greg asked. Jonah shook his head. I don't know yet, but they believe we carry something old, something powerful. Brooke pointed at the screen. I found something. There's a signal coming from under the planet's surface, deep underground. Lauren nodded. Prepare the lander, we're going down. A small team left the ship and flew down to the surface in a shuttle. The broken planet was quiet and cold. Old ruins stretched across the ground, covered in dust and ice. They landed near a large hole in the earth, leading deep underground. Lauren, Greg, Brooke, and Jonah stepped out, each wearing a suit for harsh environments. The ground cracked under their boots as they moved toward the hole. This place feels wrong, Greg said. It was once alive, Jonah said, but something killed it. They climbed down carefully, using lights to guide the way. The tunnel led to a large chamber deep below. In the center was a glowing device, floating above the floor. Brooke gasped. It's still working. It's a beacon, Jonah said, sending a signal through the gate. It called the Marith here. Lauren stepped forward. Can we shut it off? Jonah nodded. I think so, but it will take time. Do it, Lauren said. As Jonah worked, Brooke walked around the chamber, scanning symbols on the walls. Captain, she called, I think this was part of an alliance, different species working together. A war room, Greg asked. Maybe, Brooke said, or a safe house. Suddenly the ground shook, dust fell from the ceiling, and cracks formed in the walls. We have movement above, Greg said, checking his scanner. Something's coming. Marith? Lauren asked. Jonah's eyes opened wide. They found us. We need to finish now, Lauren said, and get back to the ship. Jonah moved faster, his fingers glowing with data as he worked. Outside, shadows moved in the dust. Brooke looked up. We don't have much time. The beacon dimmed and shut down. Jonah fell back, breathing hard. It's done. Let's move, Lauren said. They rushed back through the tunnel as the ground shook harder. Blasts echoed above and pieces of rock fell around them. They reached the surface just as the shuttle arrived. Marith drones swarmed the sky, shooting beams of red light. Greg fired back, covering the team as they climbed into the shuttle. The shuttle lifted off fast, dodging attacks. Back on the Eagle's Honor, alarms rang. Enemy ships incoming. The crew shouted. Lauren ran to the bridge. Status, 4 Marith vessels closing fast. Brooke said, weapons ready. Greg added. Engage, Lauren ordered. The Eagle's Honor fired first, launching pulse cannons and torpedoes. The Marith ships moved like snakes, twisting through space, but Earth's ship was strong and smart. Brooke used her knowledge of the Marith's patterns to guess their moves. Greg aimed carefully, hitting 2 enemy ships. One exploded in light, the other drifted. Broken, 2 down, Brooke said. Keep going, Lauren said. The 3rd ship rammed the Eagle's Honor, shaking everyone inside. Shields are low, Greg warned. Lauren gritted her teeth. We're not losing this fight. Jonah sent a false signal through his implant, confusing the last 2 ships for a moment. Greg used the chance to strike again. The 3rd ship burst apart. The 4th turned and fled, disappearing into space. They'll be back, Greg said, and we'll be ready, Lauren replied. The bridge was quiet for a moment. The crew was tired, but alive. That beacon was a trap, Jonah said. But it also gave us something. He pulled up a star map on the screen. There are more gates, more systems out there, places the Marith have already touched. Lauren looked at the map, and if they're looking for these so-called seed bearers, they won't stop. Maybe we are seed bearers. Brooke said quietly. Then we need to find out what that means, Lauren said, before the next wave comes. The Eagle's Honor drifted through space, quiet after the last battle. The crew worked in shifts, checking every system. Outside the windows, stars blinked softly. Inside, the mood was tense but focused. Lauren sat in her quarters, reading the report from Jonah. The term seed bearer kept repeating in the ancient data he recovered. It was in the gate's records, on the beacon, even in the broken planet's systems, but no one on Earth had heard it before. A soft beep broke the silence. "Captain, you should come to engineering," Brooke said through the comm. Something just turned on by itself. Lauren rolled her chair back and moved through the hallway. She reached engineering and found Brooke, Jonah, and two techs staring at a large screen. On it was a single word flashing in green: Levi. "That wasn't there before," Jonah said. "What is it?" Lauren asked. Brooke tapped a few buttons. "It's an AI buried deep inside the ship's systems. It was hidden, locked away until now." Suddenly, the screen changed, and a calm voice spoke. "Hello, I am Levi, Legacy Emergency Virtual Intelligence." Lauren crossed her arms. "Why did you activate now?" "Marith signal detected," the AI replied. "Legacy protocol triggered." Jonah blinked. "You knew about the Marith?" "Yes," Levi said. "This ship was designed not just for battle, but for memory. If the Marith returned, my program was to wake and guide us. How?" Lauren asked. "Earth was once part of a greater network, a union of species. Long ago we stood together against the Marith, but the war ended badly. The gates were shut, and Earth chose to forget." Brooke looked shocked. "You mean this happened before?" "Yes," Levi said. "The seed bearers were those trusted to carry knowledge and hope, to rebuild if the enemy returned. Humanity was one of the last to join. You were not ready, so the Alliance hid its gifts within your world, waiting. Waiting for what?" Greg asked, now standing in the doorway. "For the day you looked up again," Levi said. Lauren paced slowly. "So we have something the Marith want." "Yes," Levi said, "and they will not stop until they take it." "Do we know what it is?" Jonah asked. "Not yet," Levi replied, "but I can help you find it. There are other gates, other places where memories remain." Lauren looked at her crew. "Then we start looking." Over the next few days, the Eagle's Honor visited two nearby systems through the ancient gate. In each place, they found ruins of the old Alliance. On a moon filled with sand, they found a vault with data crystals. On a cold asteroid, they found a ship broken in half, still sending out weak distress signals. Levi helped them piece together the history. The Alliance had been large, but the Marith had destroyed many parts of it. The seed bearers were chosen to protect the last pieces of knowledge. Back on the ship, Jonah studied the crystals. Brooke worked to unlock new parts of the Eagle's Honor. Levi guided them to upgrade the weapons and shields using old designs hidden in the ship. Greg trained the crew harder than before. "We can't be caught off guard again," he said. Lauren spent her time planning. Each new piece of data gave her a better picture of what was coming. The Marith were not just hunters, they were destroyers. They wanted to wipe out all memory of the Alliance. One night, as the ship floated near a red giant star, Levi spoke again. "Captain, I have found a possible location of a seed core." "What's that?" she asked. "A seed core holds the full record of the Alliance. If we recover it, we will understand everything." "Location?" she asked. "A colony world called Etria 9. It went dark 300 years ago." "Plot a course," Lauren said. The Eagle's Honor passed through the next gate and arrived at a system filled with silence. The planet was covered in jungle, thick and green. Satellites still floated above it, but most were broken. They flew low over the surface, scanning for the core. Deep in the jungle, they found a large pyramid-shaped building. Levi confirmed the signal. "That's it," he said. Another team was formed. Lauren led them herself. They flew down, landing in a clearing near the pyramid. Inside, the walls glowed with soft light, still powered after centuries. Symbols covered the surfaces, some familiar, some new. Jonah placed his hand on a panel. His implant lit up. The floor opened, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside was a glowing cube floating in the air. The seed core. Levi said, "Please remove it carefully." Lauren reached forward, slowly lifting the cube from its cradle. As she did, the entire structure began to hum. "Captain," Brooke said over the common, "we have a problem. 3 Marith ships just entered the system. They followed us." Greg said. Lauren held the cube close. "Back to the ship," she ordered. They ran through the temple and launched back into the sky. Above them, red lights flashed as the Marith ships fired. The Eagle's Honor opened fire, covering the shuttle. One Marith ship exploded. The others circled wide. "We have the seed core," Lauren said as she stepped back onto the bridge. "Now we learn what it means to fight with knowledge." Levi pulsed brighter on the screen. "And now the true war begins."
The Eagle's Honor flew through deep space, carrying the seed core. Inside the ship, the crew worked without rest. They knew the Marith would return, and they needed to be ready. Lauren watched the seed core from her command chair. It floated inside a special chamber, glowing with soft blue light. Jonah and Brooke studied it together, using tools and Jonah's implant to unlock its secrets. "It holds more than just history," Jonah said. "There are codes, star maps, and plans." weapons, ships, and energy sources. Things Earth never dreamed of. Brooke nodded. This could change everything. If we learn how to use it, we can rebuild what the Alliance lost. Greg walked into the room, arms crossed. We don't have much time. The Marith will come again, and we need to be ready. Lauren agreed. Levi, what do you suggest? I can help upgrade the Eagle's Honor using the Seed Corps' knowledge, Levi said, but I will need time and support from the crew. Lauren gave the order. Do it. We'll become the first new ship of the Alliance. Over the next few days, the ship changed. The outer armor was reinforced with a new material called arcanite, found in the Seed Corps data. The engines became faster, using cleaner, stronger energy. The weapons were improved with smart systems that could learn enemy patterns. Brooke helped train the engineers on the new tech. Jonah taught other crew members how to read the old symbols. Greg led drills every morning, making sure the ship was battle-ready. Lauren spent her time speaking to leaders on Earth through long-range comms. She showed them the Seed Corps' power, explained the danger of the Marith, and offered a path forward. At first, many leaders were afraid, but when they saw proof, the upgrades, the old history, and the truth of the Marith, they began to listen. Soon, Earth united again. Factories began building new ships using the shared data. Scientists studied the old knowledge, and people began to believe in the stars again. Levi created a new network to connect Earth and the Eagle's Honor. Together, they started to form a defense force called the Earth Alliance Guard. One day, as the ship floated near a station under construction, Levi spoke. I have found a hidden Alliance outpost. There may be survivors or data left. Lauren turned to the crew. Prepare the ship. We go at first light. They arrived in a system with 2 suns and a red gas giant. Near one of the moons, they found a station hidden behind rings of rock. The station was old, but still had power. Lauren, Jonah, and Greg boarded it. Inside, the air was thin but breathable. Lights flickered on as they moved through long halls. In the main control room, they found something unexpected. A group of beings stood there, weak but alive. They were not human, but they were not Marith either. One stepped forward, a tall figure with pale skin and silver eyes. You are from Earth? The being asked. Lauren nodded. Yes. Who are you? We are the Volari. We once fought beside humans. When the war ended, we stayed in hiding. Jonah stepped forward. We have the Seed Corps. The Marith have returned. The Volari leader looked at them with hope. Then it is time to stand again. The Volari shared more data, maps of other lost worlds, locations of old ships and weapons. They joined the Earth Alliance Guard. Back on Earth, new ships were launching every day. The sky was alive again. People trained, learned, and prepared. They were not afraid anymore. Lauren returned to the Eagle's Honor with news. The Alliance was growing. Humanity was rising. Greg smiled for the first time in days. We might just have a chance. Brooke looked at the Seed Corps. This is more than power. It's a second chance. Jonah stood near the window, looking at the stars. The Marith will come again, but this time we won't run. Lauren nodded. This time we fight together. And far beyond the stars, the Marith watched. Their sensors showed ships, signals, and movement. Humanity was no longer quiet. They had woken up, and now they were ready. The Earth Alliance Guard was ready. Ships filled the sky above Earth, each one stronger and faster than before. New engines glowed blue. New weapons pulsed with silent power. People no longer feared the stars. They looked up with purpose. On the Eagle's Honor, Lauren stood on the bridge. She wore a new uniform, dark silver with the Earth crest across the chest. She was no longer just a captain. She was Admiral Pike now. Jonah, Brooke, and Greg stood with her. They were not just a crew anymore. They were leaders of a growing force. Levi's voice came through the speakers. Marith fleet detected at the edge of the Orion Gate. 17 ships moving in formation. They're testing us, Greg said. They want to see if we'll run, but we won't, Lauren replied. The Earth fleet moved toward the gate. Hundreds of ships, small and large, each one ready to defend. The Volari ships joined them, flying in silent lines. Other species answered the call too. Allies of the old alliance, hearing the signal for the first time in centuries. The battle began before words were exchanged. Red beams and blue shields lit up the stars. The Marith ships moved fast, but Earth ships now moved faster. Brooke guided the Eagle's Honor through the fight, dodging fire, launching missiles, protecting smaller ships. Greg directed the gunners, each blast finding its mark. Jonah used his implant to send false signals and confuse the enemy. The Marith ships began to lose their pattern. They had expected fear, but found unity instead. Lauren stood tall, watching the battle unfold. Hold the line, she said calmly. A Marith dreadnought, large as a city, appeared from the gate. Its weapons powered up, ready to fire on the whole fleet. Target the core, Levi said. It has one weakness near the center. Lauren gave the order. The Eagle's Honor charged forward. Other ships moved aside to clear a path. Brace, Greg shouted. The ship shook as it took fire, but it pushed on. Brooke focused all power to the engines. Almost there, she said. Fire, Lauren commanded. Greg launched a full strike into the dreadnought's heart. The explosion lit up the sky. Pieces of the Meredith flagship drifted away, silent and broken. A cheer went up through the fleet. The Meredith began to retreat, vanishing through the gate they came from. Lauren took a deep breath. Report, she said. Minor damage, Brooke said. We lost a few ships, but most made it through, Greg added. Jonah nodded. They're not gone for good. But today we showed them what Earth can do. Lauren looked at the stars. This is just the start. Levi appeared on the main screen. Many systems remain silent. Many worlds need help. The Alliance is not fully awake yet. Lauren turned to her crew. Then we wake them, one world at a time. The fleet began to move again. Not to hide, but to explore, to protect and to rebuild. Earth became more than a planet. It became a name spoken with respect, a place that stood strong when others had fallen. More ships were built, more gates opened. The network of the old Alliance began to grow again. The children of Earth learned about the stars. They studied the Meredith, the Seed-Bearers, and the ancient war. They were taught never to forget. Jonah traveled to teach others how to use the knowledge. Brooke helped design new cities on distant moons. Greg trained a new generation of soldiers who would protect the peace. Lauren continued to lead from the front, always in the stars, guiding the fleet. One day she stood on the bridge again, watching a new gate open. It shimmered with soft light, and beyond it, a new system waited. She smiled. Let's see what's out there, she said. The Eagle's Honor moved forward, leading the fleet through the light, and so humanity rose. Not with fear but with hope, not alone but with allies, not as a forgotten world but as a voice among the stars. The sky had opened, and now it belonged to them.